चक्षुरोन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्रीराधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च। नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिधि नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
For the last few days, because of the festivals of Ram Navami and Hanuman Jayanti, we have been discussing the glories of Lord Ram and his devotees. And we have been discussing some pastimes from the Ramayan. The Lord descends into this world to display his pastimes, which we call Leela, his activities. The difference between the Lord's activities and ours are very numerous and stark. Firstly, Lord Sri Krishna, Lord Sri Ram, and all the other avatars of the Lord, they descend into this world out of their own sweet will. We are born not out of our sweet will, but because of the laws of karma. Because we have performed certain types of karma, we are forced to take birth in certain kinds of bodies, in certain kinds of families, in certain kinds of species. We have no choice. Once we have performed the karma, we have no choice as to when, how, and where we will appear in our next life. That is not the case with the Lord. He can choose the time, place, and manner of his appearance. Secondly, our activities are under the jurisdiction of matter, of this material world. The Lord is always beyond this material world. This material world and its laws can never touch him. We are under the grip of the laws of nature. But the Supreme Lord is never under the grip of the laws of nature. On the contrary, he remains the master of the laws of nature at all times. The Supreme Lord always remains the Supreme Lord, whenever he appears in this material world also. However, when we appear in different bodies, in different lifetimes, we do not remember who we were in the previous life. We have no idea of our previous births in this world. Neither do we have any idea of our future births. But the Supreme Lord is all-knowing. Therefore, he knows everything past, present, and future. The Lord descends into this world to fulfill some very important purposes. As he says in Bhagavad Gita, he descends for the sake of protecting the devotees, paritranaya sadhunam, He descends for destroying the miscreants, vinashaya cha dushkritam, and he descends for establishing dharma, dharma sansthapanarthaya. We do not appear in the world to do these things. We appear in the world for our own selfish reasons, because we have wanted to enjoy this world in a certain way. So we get punished in different ways. And this body that we get is merely one form of punishment. Because this body is the source of our misery. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukkha Doshanu Darshanam. One of the signs of knowledge is to know that birth, death, old age, and disease are the primary sufferings in this material world. So this body is merely an instrument of suffering. That's all. There is no happiness to be obtained through this body. It is only an illusion to think that we can get some happiness from this body. True happiness will exist only on the spiritual platform. And in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna makes us aware of our spiritual nature, that we are spiritual beings, that we are the Atma, we are not this body, and that we belong to the spiritual world, that our main function, our only function actually, is to serve Him, the Supreme Lord, not to try to enjoy independently. So when the Lord descends here, out of His own sweet will, He displays His wonderful activities which we call Leela, as opposed to our karma. And those Leelas are meant for our instruction. Those Leelas are also meant for us to hear and speak about and meditate about for our purification. Those Leelas are exhibited by the Lord to attract our hearts towards Him and to invoke our devotion and love for Him. That is why the Lord comes here. So when He descends into this world, He comes to give His grace, His mercy to the devotees. Anugrahaya bhaktana manusham tanu ashritam. Bhajate tadrashi krida yah shrutva tatparo bhavet. So Srimad Bhagavatam says that out of His mercy the Lord descends into this world and He exhibits His different leelas, His activities, and when we hear those activities, we automatically become devoted to Him. So, in conclusion, the purpose of the Lord's appearance here is to attract our hearts and minds to Him, to make us devoted to Him, to make us rise beyond our petty worldly desires and ambitions, so that we realize that there is much more to life than simply engaging in our worldly pursuits, our petty quarrels, our petty ambitions, our petty desires, our petty enjoyments, our petty sufferings. Beyond all of that is the spiritual realm. And the Lord descends to show us that there is such a spiritual world. And if we become devoted to Him by the process of hearing and chanting about Him, then we will become released from the cycle of birth and death. And after death, we will go back to His kingdom, the spiritual world, Vaikuntha. And we will not have to take birth again in this material world, which is full of misery. When the Lord appears, He does not come alone. He comes with His devotees. He comes with His associates. Because after all, when He performs His leelas, He needs some associates. In any drama, when the main hero or heroine come, they need so many other people along with them in the drama or in the cinema. So when the Lord comes to enact His transcendental, spiritual, divine drama, many of His devotees gather. They all are called together by His arrangement to make His pastimes very instructive very inspiring, very illuminating, and very attractive for all of us. As far as Lord Ram is concerned, he is known as Maryada Purushottam. So when the Lord descends as Lord Ram, he exhibits pastimes that are meant for instruction and to teach us how an ideal human being should be. What should be the proper etiquette, the proper dharmic way of living and acting. So everything that Lord Ram did was perfect. It was meant for an ideal human being. So when we look at Lord Ram and his activities, we understand how a human being should be. He was a perfect son, perfect husband, perfect king, perfect brother. So he was perfect in every way. He was well behaved towards everyone. And those who come in contact with Ram and become his devotees, those who come in contact with Krishna become his devotees, they also acquire these sublime qualities. Today I would like to discuss the unique case of the brothers of Ravana. See how fortunate are the demoniac people, because they also get remembered along with God. We talk about Ram, Ram, Ram all the time, but can you talk of Ram without speaking of Rama? Can you talk about Narasimha without talking about Hiranyakashipu? So these names have also become immortalized. Just because they had the fortune of being connected to the Lord in some way, even if it was by enmity, or by hatred, or by fear. So these people are also special. Otherwise, how can they participate in the Lord's intimate pastimes? How can they come into personal contact with the Lord in this way? When there is a very well-known actor, let us say, and he is performing the lead role in a drama, the other people who work with him in that drama must also be established actors. Just the director will not just pick up anybody from the street and put him to act in the drama along with the main actor. Similarly, when the Lord plays a lead role in his pastimes, so those who participate in his pastimes must also be special. They have been selected according on certain special criteria. As far as Ravan is concerned, he and his brother Kumbhakarna were Jai and Vijay previously. And by some very interesting situations that developed, Jai and Vijay, who were the Dwarpals, or the doorkeepers of Vaikuntha, were cursed to fall down to the material world. It was the Lord's arrangement to curse them. And they came in as Hiranyakashyap and Hiranyaksha, two brothers. They were killed by Lord Narasimha and Lord Varaha respectively. Then in the next appearance they came as Ravan and Kumbhakarna. They were killed by Lord Ram. And in the next appearance they came as Shishupal and Dantavakra in Krishna Leela. And they were again killed by the Lord. So we see that they finished their 3 terms and then they went back as their original doorkeepers, because the Lord wanted them to descend here for some special purpose of performing certain dramatic pastimes. Ravan had 2 brothers, as you know, Kumbhakarna and Vibhishan. Now these 3 brothers, they exhibited different characteristics. Briefly, I was discussing yesterday that Ravan was very demoniac by nature. The other extreme was Vibhishan, who was very dharmic by nature, divine by nature. And Kumbhakarna was basically somewhere in between. He had some dharmic element, but he was also demoniac. And let's discuss briefly the kind of um, how they became what they were. Yesterday I was mentioning in one lecture that these three brothers performed severe austerities for 10,000 years. And when the creator Brahma appeared before them, then he asked them for some benedictions. Tell me, what do you want? I can grant you some benedictions. So Kumbhakarna, Ravana asked for immortality, and Brahma said, I cannot give that, because even I am not immortal. So I cannot give you immortality. And Ravana said, all right, you give me freedom from death from the residents of the higher planets, like Yakshas and Gandharvas and Kinnaras and so on, Devas, Asuras. As far as human beings and animals or the residents of the earth planet, they are like insignificant pieces of straw. They pose no danger to me. So I don't need to ask you for benediction to protect me from them. But of course, that is why the Lord had to come into the human species to kill Ravan, to keep Brahma's benediction. And then Vibhishan was asked, what benediction do you want? And he said, the benediction I want is that I should always walk on the path of dharma. I should never give up the path of dharma, even in the most difficult and challenging times. I should not give up dharma. And Brahma was very pleased with this. Finally, when the time came to ask Kumbhakarna, all the devatas who had come along with Brahma, they had become alarmed after hearing the benediction that had been granted to Ravana. And they whispered to Brahma and said that, my dear Lord, this Ravana was already very powerful. Now you have granted him such a benediction, he will become such a tyrant for the whole universe. It will become very difficult for us. He will create enormous disturbance everywhere. And now his brother Vibhishan is very dharmic, very virtuous. But his Kumbhakarna is not like that, not like Vibhishan. He is also very powerful, and he is somewhat like his brother, Ravana. So if you ask him for a benediction, he is going to ask you something just like Ravana has asked, and he will add to the disturbance and chaos of the universe. So please somehow bewilder him and make him speak something which he did not intend. So then Brahma thought over the matter, and he called his good wife, Saraswati Devi, who is a goddess of learning and a goddess of speech. And he told her, please bewilder the mind of Kumbhakarna. Kumbhakarna wanted to ask for eternal life, immortality, nityatvam. Or some people say he wanted to ask for the annihilation of the devas, nirdevatvam. And as a slip of the tongue, inspired by Saraswati Devi on his tongue, he said nidratvam. Nidra means sleep. So he said, I want sleep. And Brahma was expecting this. So before Kumbhakarna could understand what had happened, Brahma said, yes, the Tathastu granted and disappeared. And he went away along with the Devatas. And only after the Devatas had gone that Kumbhakarna realized what had happened. He said, oh, what has happened? How did these disastrous words come out from my mouth? I never intended this. So this must be some ploy or conspiracy of the Devatas, of the demigods. But anyway, what was done was done. So then that Kumbhakarna would sleep for a long time, for many, many months at a stretch. And then he would wake up, and then he would be awake for a day, he would gorge himself, and then again he would go to sleep. This was his pattern. And he was gigantic in his body. Now let us compare the personalities, Kumbhakarna as well as Vibhishan. When Lord Ram came with his army and stood on the other side of the ocean, They were preparing to cross the sea. It took some time for them to start building the bridge. Then they built the bridge eventually, and then they crossed over to the other side. Meanwhile, as Lord Ram had gathered there with the Vanar Sena, with the monkey army, Ravana's spies brought the information. So Ravana became alarmed. Because you see, by this time, Hanuman had already come to Lanka. He had met Sita. He had already come in front of Ravan. He had devastated Lanka already by burning it down, because Ravana had put his tail on fire to humiliate him. And Hanuman went and burnt down a large portion of Lanka. So when Ravan saw this, he was very concerned. If one servant of Ram can do this, then Ram must be able to do much more. So he felt the first pangs of fear. So then he called his generals and his ministers and other well-wishers and asked for advice. Now Lord Ram is waiting on the other side of the sea, and I seek your advice as to what we should do now. What strategy should we have? Many of the generals of Ravana, they only continued to provoke him and to instigate him. They said, "O great king, you are the most powerful person in the whole universe. What fear do you have? And Ram is a mere human being. And you have been granted immunity from all the higher residents of the higher planets, like the Devas and the Asuras and the Rakshasas and so on. And what harm can mere human beings do to you? And in any case, along with him are mere monkeys. So, in front of you, even the demigods, the devatas, tremble. And what wrong have you done? You have every right to kidnap Sita, to kidnap anybody else for that matter." So these were the kind of ministers that Ravana had. So they would encourage him in all these practices. Then Kumbhakarna had to be woken up. It was a huge problem waking him up. It took a lot of effort. Valmiki Ramayana describes in detail what efforts had to be taken to wake up Kumbhakarna. It will take a long time to describe that, so I will skip it. Finally, Kumbhakarna woke up. And as soon as he was woken up, all sorts of liquor and meat and everything was kept ready for him to eat and drink. And then he came into the Sabha, the court of Ravan. And he heard the situation. And then he told Ravan, "Who asked you to kidnap Sita? You never asked us before doing such a thing. You did a wrong thing. You should not have kidnapped Sita. She is somebody else's wife. You had no business kidnapping her, bringing her here. You took this step without asking us. And now when you are in trouble, now you come to us and ask us for a solution." So he reprimanded his brother, Ravana. But finally he said, "Ravana, you are my brother, and I am sold out to you. My obligation is to you. So despite the fact that you were wrong in doing what you did, I will defend you. I will support you. And don't worry, so long as I am there, no harm can come to you, least of all from some petty human being and from some insignificant monkeys." Little did he know that these monkeys were not ordinary monkeys. These were sons of the Devatas. Sugriva was son of Suryadev. Vali, of course, he was dead. He was son of Indra. And Hanuman was son of Vayu. So these were all very powerful monkeys. And Ram, of course, was not an ordinary human being, and neither was Lakshman. They were both directly the Supreme Lord. But Kumbhakarna, Ravana, etc. did not know this. So even though Kumbhakarna did not approve of Ravana's act of kidnapping Sita, still he said, "Because you're my brother, it is my dharma to support you. So I will fight on your behalf." when it came Vibhishan's turn to speak, he also reprimanded his brother. But he did not speak the words of support that Kumbhakarna spoke. And he told him, there is still time, my dear brother, to honorably return Sita Devi to her husband Lord Ram. The devastation of Lanka is assured otherwise. Your death and the death of most of your associates is also assured. So please avoid mass destruction and return Sita even now there is time. Lord Ram is magnanimous by nature. He will forgive you. And when he was speaking like this, he was speaking very harsh words to Ravana also. And he said that one who is a genuine well-wisher will not hesitate to speak sharp words, which are painful, but they are intended for the welfare of the person they are spoken to. So my dear brother, do not feel hurt that I am speaking these sharp words to you, but they are intended for your welfare. Now Ravana became enraged on hearing the words of Vibhishan. And he said, if you were not my brother, I would have killed you this very instant. You are simply an enemy in the guise of my brother, when there are brothers like you who needs enemies. So therefore, I will not tolerate having you here in my kingdom. You should immediately leave the kingdom and go away, and never show me your face again. Now these words were like arrows that pierced the heart of Vibhishan. Vibhishan was a genuine well-wisher of Ravana. And because he was a well-wisher, and because he understood dharma, he spoke in a certain way to Ravana for his welfare. You see, when we mean somebody's good, on some occasions, we should tell them what the truth is, even if they may not like it. If we genuinely care for somebody, we should be willing to tell them a bitter truth, if it is for their welfare. We should not always pander to the whims of people we care for. If something is genuinely for the good of somebody we love and care for, we should not hesitate to tell. Of course, it may be told in different ways, but the bitter truth must sometimes be told. So Vibhishan's formula was this. But since Ravana did not respond nicely, he banished him. And Vibhishan went away from Lanka with some of his associates. And because they were Rakshasas, they had these mystic powers. So they flew through the skyways and they arrived at the place where Lord Ram had camped along with the Vanar Sena, the monkey army. At that time, all the monkeys became suspicious. A big clamor broke out in the ranks of the army when they saw these four Rakshasas standing in midair. And some of them, they wanted to jump up in the air and pull them down and beat them to death. But then sense prevailed. They said, no, let us hear what he has to say. So they asked, who are you? So he introduced himself. I am Vibhishan, the brother of Ravana, and I have come here to take shelter of Lord Ram. And there were various opinions. Some people felt that this was just a ploy. It was a trick of Ravana. And some people wanted him immediately killed and so on. The matter was taken to Lord Ram. And Lord Ram was asked, so here is Vibhishan, the brother of Ravan, who has come to us in this way. What should we do? Should we accept him or should we not accept him? So Ram asked everyone for their opinion. Some of them said, we should immediately kill him because he is a spy. A Rakshasa is a Rakshasa. You can never trust them. He has come here to find out all our inside information, and then he will relay this information to Ravana. So this is a trick and a conspiracy. Somebody said, maybe he's coming genuinely, maybe he has actually had a fight with Ravana, but ultimately he's a Rakshasa. his glorious qualities. He says here in this verse, Sakra, even one time, Eva, certainly, Prapannoya, whoever comes to me and surrenders, Prapannaha means to surrender. So even once, if somebody comes to me in a mood of surrender and says to me, Tava asmi, I am yours, iti, he speaks thus to me. In a mood of surrender, he comes and says, my dear Lord, I am yours. I have surrendered to you. Abhayam sarvada tasmai dadami. I immediately grant him permanent fearlessness. Abhayam. Dadami means I award that. Vratam mama, this is my vow. So Lord Ram said, never mind. Whatever may be his intentions, whoever, whatever, but he has come here with a mood to surrender to me. And because he has surrendered to me, I will accept him. So this is the nobility, the nobleness of Lord Ram. Even if it is someone from the enemy's side, but he comes and he says, I am yours, my Lord. Ram says, I will accept him. And he accepted him. And Vibhishan became a very crucial part of Lord Ram's army. He provided much valuable information about Ravana's army, about the fortifications of Lanka, what kind of weapons Ravana and his army had, what kind of strategies they would do, and all this information turned out to be invaluable. And even that apart, we see the quality of Lord Ram. And this we see is a quality of, in all his incarnations. Whenever people come to, devotees come to surrender, the Lord never rejects anybody. He accepts everybody. So Vibhishan, eventually of course, after the battle of Lanka, when Ravana was killed, Indrajit Meghna was killed, Kumbhakarna was killed, all the generals of Ravana were killed. Then Ram anointed Vibhishan as the king of Lanka. And then he flew back in the Pushpak Viman from Lanka to Ayodhya. Now in Ayodhya, of course, the grand coronation ceremony of Lord Ram happened. The coronation ceremony means he became the king. He had been away for 14 years. Vibhishan was present at that time. And then Vibhishan, Jambavan, Hanuman, Sugriv, and all the others, the monkey army also, they departed after some time. And Lord Ram gave each and every one of them very, very valuable gifts in appreciation of all the services they had rendered to him to rescue Sita and to fulfill his mission of destroying the evil people on earth. Vinashaya cha dushritam. So the Lord is very grateful by nature. Even if one performs a little bit of seva for the Lord, He never forgets. As human beings, we often forget. Even if someone has done a lot of good to us and helped us greatly, we may forget sometimes. We may be ungrateful. But the Lord never forgets. Even a little service that is done by His devotees, He considers that very great, very significant. So here we have these two examples of Kumbhakarna and Vibhishan. Now let us come to the Mahabharata. And here also we have an interesting case of two other brothers. And these two brothers are called Vikarna and Yuyutsu. How many of you have heard these two names? Vikarna and Yuyutsu? Yes. So then I'll explain who they are. Vikarna was the younger brother of Duryodhana. Duryodhana was the eldest of the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra and Gandhari. The second eldest son was Dushasana, and Vikarna was the third eldest. And there were 97 other sons of Dhritarashtra and Gandhari. Now, Duryodhana, Dushasan were the most evil amongst the lot. And the others also were evil. But Vikarna was not like that. Vikarna had a strong dharmic streak in him, in his character and in his personality. When the attempted disrobing of Draupadi happened in the assembly of King Dhritarashtra in full public view, such humiliation, which was very difficult to tolerate for the Pandavas and for Draupadi or for anyone else actually, Dhritarashtra kept quiet. Bhishma, Drona, Kripacharya, they all kept quiet, did not open their mouths when Dushasana was attempting to disrobe Draupadi. And the only person, although the Pandavas spoke out very angrily, on the side of the Kauravas, nobody spoke up except Vikarna, who was a third Kaurava. He was the only one in the Kaurava side who protested. Imagine, not even Bhishma, Drona spoke, but Vikarna spoke. And he said, this is gross injustice. What Draupadi is saying is correct. There is no way you should do such a thing. And you went on speaking that insulting our sister-in-law in this way will mean the destruction of our entire dynasty and the kingdom. And at that time, Karna, the eldest son of Kunti, who Duryodhana had befriended and who had now come to Duryodhana's camp, he began to taunt and criticize Vikarna. But Vikarna stuck to his guns. He did not relent. And this impressed the Pandavas very much. And in similar situations, Vikarna also took the side of Dharma. He at least spoke up. Even at the time of the killing of Abhimanyu, which was unjust, because 6 Maharathis had gathered to kill one young boy of 16 years old of age. So there is no evidence that Vikarna was participating in any way, or that he actually took part there. In any case, Vikarna was known to be dharmic. When they were fighting on the battlefield, in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Bhima at one point was fighting very ferociously. He had taken a vow before the battle that he would kill all the 100 sons of Gandhari and Dhritarashtra. And he had no regrets about killing 99 of those 100. But his only regret was killing Vikarna. When he came face to face with Vikarna on the battlefield, he said to Vikarna, Vikarna, please move out of the way. Please let us not engage in battle. You are a virtuous person. I do not wish to fight you. But Vikarna insisted, we are here in a battle and we must fight. And Bhima told him, but you are a very virtuous and dharmic person. At the time of the disrobing of Draupadi, you were the one who spoke out in her support. You are an honorable man. So therefore, you please do your dharma. And Vikarna replied, yes, I am doing my dharma. At that time, I did my dharma, what I felt was my dharma. And at this time, I am doing what I think is my dharma now. My dharma now is to support my brother. Even though his brother was doing the wrong thing. But because he was his younger brother, he was Duryodhana's younger brother, he felt obliged to support him, to fight for him. That he felt was his dharma, rightly or wrongly. So in his own conception, he fought. And eventually Bhima killed him. And that was the only time when Bhima shed tears in the battlefield after killing Vikarna. And he became emotional. because Vikarna was a noble soul, he said. So this affected Bhima very much, killing Vikarna. So Vikarna's character is compared sometimes to Kumbhakarna's character. Kumbhakarna also reprimanded Ravana that you have not done the right thing by kidnapping Sita. But he fought on behalf of Ravana. Similarly, Vikarna reprimanded Duryodhana and Dushasana that you are not doing the right thing by disrobing Draupadi. But he still fought on behalf of Duryodhana. So there is some comparison between Vikarna, the Mahabharata, and Kumbhakarna here. Now let us come to Yuyutsu. Who was Yuyutsu? Now I have already mentioned that Dhritarashtra and Gandhari had 100 sons. They also had one daughter. Does anyone know what is the name of their daughter? Dushala. Dushala. And she was married to Jayadratha. So he had, Dhritarashtra and Gandhari had 101 children. One daughter, 100 sons. But Dhritarashtra had one more son through a maid of Gandhari. When Gandhari's pregnancy had taken extraordinarily long time. And that son was Yuyutsu. And he, at the beginning of the battle, of course, just at the time when Bhagavad Gita was spoken, he was standing on the side of the Kauravas. Because he was a Kaurava. He was a son of Dhritarashtra. So the Kaurava army had gathered on one side, and the Pandava army had gathered on the other side. And it is a custom, a Vedic custom, that before one begins anything important, one should take the blessings of one's elders. So Arjun and Yudhishthir, they sought blessings in their own unique ways. Arjuna shot an arrow at the ground near Bhishma, near his feet. That was his way of offering namaskar. He wanted to touching his feet. And then Bhishma fired back an arrow that went above the head of Arjuna. That was his way of offering blessings. Similarly with Drona and Kripacharya. So that was Arjuna's style of offering namaskar and receiving blessings. Yudhishthir was more direct. So as the two armies were assembled on both sides, Yudhishthir left his chariot, got down, and started walking towards the Kaurava side. And when he was walking there, everyone, including Arjun, Bhima, etc., and also the others on the Kaurava side, they were surprised. What is Yudhishthir doing? Some of them were shocked. They thought that Yudhishthir has come to surrender. That he has become fearful of fighting, and now he is going to tell the Kauravas, I surrender to you. So he went up to Bhishma. And Bhishma knew, of course, why he has come. So Yudhishthir went up to Bhishma and said, O grandsire, please offer me your blessings that I can fight you. So Bhishma said, I give you my blessings. If you hadn't come to ask my blessings, I would have cursed you to die. So you have come and asked for blessings. What boon do you want? Please tell me how I can kill you. This is the way of Kshatriyas of those days. Who can understand these things? Please tell me how I can kill you, and please tell me when you will die. So Bhishma said that I will tell you at a later time. When the time comes, I will let you know how you can kill me and how I will die and when I will die at the right time. Then he went to Drona, he went to Kripa, he said the same thing. And he got the same reply. Please give me blessings to fight. Yes, we are glad you have come. Had you not come, we would have cursed you. What boon do you want? Please tell me how I can kill you. That I cannot say. That I will tell you at the right time. So anyway, all these things was done. Then Yudhishthir came back to his side. By this time, everyone was convinced that they had been wrong in judging Yudhishthir. They had thought that he's going to surrender, but now they realized he's going only to offer his respects to the elders. Then he came back to his side and he loudly spoke up. Now we are going to begin the battle. See, this was the way of battle in the old days. Not like you plant a bomb, and then you run away somewhere, trigger it with some device, and you are far away. No, not like that. Not in a cowardly way. They would stand face to face, and then they would fight. Fight to the finish. Either you're victorious or you die on the battlefield. This was the Kshatriya code in those days. So he said, now the battle is about to commence. Before we start, I want to announce, is there anyone on the side of the Kurus who would like to shift to our side and fight on our behalf rather than the Kuru side? Come to the side of Dharma. And there was stunned silence everywhere. And then one person from the Kaurava army stepped out and he started walking towards Yudhishthira, and that was Yuyutsu. So he changed sides and he came on the side of the Pandavas, and then he fought on the side of the Pandavas. And he was one of the few people who remained alive at the end of the battle of Kurukshetra. Who were the survivors of the battle of Kurukshetra? One was, okay, tell me from the Pandava side. Who were they? The 5 Pandavas. Then?
Krupacharya?
No, Pandava side.
Krishna was there.
Krishna. So 5 Pandavas plus Krishna. Satyaki. Satyaki. And Yuyutsu. So 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 survivors from the side of the Pandavas. And on the side of the Kauravas, you had Kritavarma, Kripacharya, and Ashwatthama. So Yuyutsu was one of the survivors on the side of the Pandavas. He had the courage to change. Nowadays you call it defection. He defected to that side. But it was all openly done. It was not some clandestine operation, secretly done behind the scene, running away somewhere. And it was all open. It was openly declared to his own brothers that I am shifting sides. So such were the codes of conduct in those days. So Yuyutsu crossed and fought on the side of the Pandavas. So Yuyutsu has been compared to Vibhishan. Yuyutsu was also did not approve of Duryodhana's actions. And at the right time, he actually switched sides and fought on the side of Duryodhana's enemies, the Pandavas. So we see a comparison between Vikarna and Kumbhakarna on one side and Yuyutsu and Vibhishan on the other side. So an interesting comparison in personalities, and interesting how different concepts of dharma play out. But of course, the highest dharma is that which is favorable for surrender to the Supreme Lord. There are many types of dharmas, but the highest dharma is that which brings us to the devotional service of the Supreme Lord, Sri Ram or Sri Krishna. So that is our topmost dharma as well. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhakti radhokshaje ahetukya vyavahita yayatma suprasidati. The Srimad Bhagavatam says that the highest dharma for humanity is that by which loving devotional service to the Lord is awakened within the heart. And for such service to be completely satisfying to the soul, it must be rendered without any material motivation and without any interruption. Ahaituki and apratihata. So this is the standard of dharma. So surrendering to Lord Ram, surrendering to Lord Krishna and becoming their devotee, developing love for them, serving them with one's whole heart to please them, chanting their names, chanting their glories, is the perfection of our life. So the appearances of the Lord and their pastimes, as narrated in the scriptures like Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavatam, etc., are meant for this purpose. So these festivals should also induce us to move on the path of this supreme dharma, which is called Bhagavad Dharma. In this age, the process of chanting the names of God are recommended. The Kali Santaran Upanishad recommends this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So simply by chanting this Mahamantra repeatedly and hearing the messages and pastimes of the Lord and serving Him in many ways, we can attain the perfection of our life. So I would like to thank all of you for having come here today and given a very patient hearing to this talk. I would like to thank all the authorities in this temple who are running this temple and also who have made this program possible today. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
You mentioned in the beginning of your talk that when we are born, we forget our previous birth. And yet, there are cases where people have remembered their previous lives.
Yes.
How does that happen?
The question is that how is it that some people remember their previous lives? That is a very rare thing, extremely rare. And it is not something that is fortunate. It can be very difficult to bear. If somebody remembers a previous life, there is a big identity crisis. Who am I? Am I this person of this life or the person of the previous life? Usually such memories of the previous life, even when they come, in those rare cases, they happen for children. And by the time the children grow up, they forget. The memories fade away. And in childhood, it is quite a torture for the children. Because they are in split identity. They have an identity crisis. Who is their real mother? Who is their father? Who is who? It becomes very problematic. So it is not necessarily something fortunate, but by some quirk of karma, some few people remember.
I was thinking of this case of Shanti Devi. See, it's a very
Yes.
documented case.
Shanti Devi's case is very famous.
And it affected her present life.
Yes, very
Very
much.
adverse way.
Correct, it affects the present life as well. Yes. Yes.
It's not a question, it's just I would like to know about the Vikarna and Kumbhkarna when you said that they knew that their brother not doing good thing, yet they supported their brother. Is it right thing to do? Is it a dharma? Which type of dharma is it?
Okay, the question is that Vikarna and Kumbhakarna, they knew that the brother is not doing the right thing, but they still supported their brother. Did they do the right thing? Well, by the standard of the highest dharma, they did not.
Just
Even Bhishma
what
and
to
Drona.
do in future if
Yes.
you're one person doing that thing.
No, you have to stand on the side of dharma, even if your own son, your own daughter,
That's
your
what
own...
I knew about.
Yes, even if our own close relative
Uh,
does something wrong, we should stand for dharma.
And also I knew Kumbhkarna from Ramayana, and I personally never thought he did the wrong, right thing. And
Yes.
then for Vikarna, I'm very thankful that I've come to know today.
Yes. So, these ideas of dharma are very intricate and complicated, not easy to understand. Look at Bhishma and Drona. They were such exalted souls. And they knew dharma very well. But they were bound. Because, as they say, they had eaten the salt of Duryodhana. So they were being maintained by Duryodhana. So they felt obliged to fight on behalf of Duryodhana. Because of their obligation, that was their one kind of dharma. But still, overall, it was a cause of adharma. So however powerful one may be, if one is on the side of adharma, one will eventually lose. That is a lesson to learn. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Bhakti Prasad Swami Maharaj ki jai.